When you tell everybody they're an employee owner, they all think now we have 70 bosses. It's like, no, just because I own Coke stock doesn't mean they're asking me what the design of the new bottle is going to be. So you have to remind them they're just getting the benefits of the profits. We still have a president, we still have a vision team and a management team that makes all the decisions.
Welcome to The Boost, a podcast for home service contractors. We explore leaders and innovators in home services, their personal journeys, thoughts, and experiences with growth, marketing, and succession. We cover the good, the bad, the ugly, and its ultimate impact. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to The Boost. I'm Zach Wilson, Chief Marketing Officer of Local. Today, we have Loren Gardner, Director of Business Development at Bergen Plumbing and Heating and Cooling, doubles up as instructor at Blackhawk School of Apprenticeship and consultant of Apprenticeship Works. Welcome, Loren. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Zach. It was great meeting you at AHR, and I'm excited about this.
So just real quickly, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody? Tell us a little bit about your journey through life into the trades.
Born and raised in Waterloo, and my brother, 7 years my senior, he got into the plumbing business right out of high school. And so I started at a company, and so I tagged along a lot as little brother. You know, he'd go on overtime calls or things like that, and I'd just tag along. I did then go off and do the college path. All the people that I try to talk out of college now, I'm in fact one of those people that has a degree.
Irony has this place.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? You're like, college isn't for everybody. And here I am living proof of that, right?
Exactly. Luckily, I lived at home and didn't put me 60,000 in debt like it does kids nowadays. But times were different back when we went to college, though, a couple years ago. We'll just say that. We'll say we're a couple years removed from college.
You still look very young, so you're good.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I got my degree. I taught for a little while, but it wasn't the right fit. Taught middle school. Then I worked for a wholesaler. And so that's kind of got my feet in the door. I helped my brother a little bit still on the weekends, but I didn't really want to do the full diving in with. By this time, my brother had started his own company. And so this was back in 2003, he started his company, the Bergen Plumbing, Heating and Cooling. So again, I did the wholesale for a little bit, and I even then got into insurance because I think everybody sells insurance at some point in their life. But then an opportunity has come. His company was growing.
I can safely say I did not.
Okay.
I did not go down that path. But so take me out of that bucket.
But he got so big, and he had these visions of how he wanted to take it to the next level. He was sitting around 30 employees, but he knew he wanted to grow it. He knew he needed somebody to look over all of his warehouse, and he needed to do project management. And then he wanted to start a school on top of that. So that's where my education background, it's not wasted. I just get to use it in a different sense. So he brought me on, and basically the position he hired me for was other duties as described. So everything that he needed done, he would just come to me and say, this is your project. And one of the first main ones, we moved to a brand new building that about 10 times the size of our old space. And I had to general that and get it all organized and set up a new shop in a way that we weren't used to dealing with. We put it in a cage, and we have modern shelving, and so all that sort of thing. And then the school came along. We'd been using the local community colleges, and we just weren't exactly happy with their results. So we just thought kids, not just kids, but the students weren't getting the full benefit of the education. And from there, we got on the board and we tried to change things internally, but we decided let's just do it on our own. So we started a school that is fully registered with the state, licensed. But one of our big differences is we teach during the day. And so most apprenticeship schools that people go through, they're going to work a full day, and then they're going to have to go to class from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. You've worked a full day. The tech you're working with is running behind. You may not get supper, so you may be running late. Also, when I'd get the reports, they could miss 8 days of class before it affected their grade. So it's like, is this even really serious?
Wow.
So we decided we're going to put a focus on this, an emphasis on this. They have bookwork in the morning, 1 day a week, but so it's from 8 to noon. They take a break for lunch, and then from 1 to 5, we have a hands-on training center in this building that then whatever we learned in the morning, we do in the afternoon. So if it was laying pipe, this chapter, then we go and we lay pipe in the afternoon.
So let me just interject here real quickly. So what we're talking about right now, just so everybody's following along, this is the Blackhawk School that you guys created, correct?
Yes.
One more follow-up question there is in that talked about the normal cadence of people doing their apprenticeship and trade and learning, which is, work from, whatever the job site is, 8 to 2, 7 to 3, whatever it is, 9 to 3, and then leaving, going to school from 3 to 9, and then coming home. That's normal. That's the baseline, right? And
Right.
so now you're shifting this to being more of a traditional school model,
Exactly.
9 to 5. So the question is I fully understand why people do the former, which is, go to school from 3 to 9 because they need money, right? Where does the money come into this where they can earn while quote unquote apprenticing?
Yeah, that is a great question. So they get paid to sit in class. So they have to be an employee of Bergen to go to the school. Now, yes, we've
Gotcha.
had students from other companies, kind of some smaller companies that don't have enough people to start their own school and also aren't big on the local product. And so they've sent their people here. But for the most part, they are employees of Bergen. So they're working Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday out in the field, and Wednesday is their class day. But while they're sitting in class, because it is during normal working hours, we do have to pay them. That's a great recruiting tool when you get to say, you're going to get to sit in class and get paid.
Right.
When I'm going, when I'm at a high school and they say, hey, all you kids are going to college, you're paying to sit there. If you come into the trades, you're going to get paid to learn.
Well, furthermore, too, you're not missing. I mean, if you've got a family or you don't, or you have a spouse or kids or whatever, you're also not missing any of that, which is huge. Because I remember we did a little project at our house, big rewiring project, and so the electricians were here, and a bunch of them, the company we worked with, had a big apprentice team, and so those guys are shadowing all day, and whatever it was, a couple days a week, they'd be like, all right, sorry, we got to leave at whatever 2 o'clock to return the trucks to get to school. And I was like, holy mackerel! Like, what time do you get home? 9 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock,
Yep.
and miss baby time, family time. I mean, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. But to the model you're talking about, it sounds like a pipe dream. It's amazing.
Oh, exactly. And it builds up that culture that, yes, we care about your education. So we're making it a priority. We're paying you to
Right.
learn, but we're doing it during the workday. We're not just saying, yeah, we care about it, but do it on your own time. Like you said, take away from your family time. No, we still want to embrace a family culture.
And you get paid.
And you get paid.
Win, win, win. Last question on this. Hours per week in the classroom is the same, more or less, fewer, more, fewer than the traditional model?
About the same, because those are usually about once a week also,
Oh,
or
is
two
it once
nights
a week?
out
Okay,
here.
gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you just do one full day, which is 8-ish hours.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And
Yeah.
we also pushed it to be, because a lot of obviously recruits are right out of high school. So we started after Labor Day and it goes through Memorial Day. So they're used to that model of that's when school starts, that's when school ends. So that's what we work off of. And then they have the whole summer to make overtime and make plenty of money. And
You
yeah.
get the summer off.
Yeah. Kind of.
Another, well, I mean, off from school.
From that hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you go let your brain melt and forget everything you learned, just like back in the days. So let's talk about a little bit about Bergen. You've been there for, I think, 9-ish years. Yeah, just over 9 years. You talked about your brother wanting to do things differently, always dreamt of this certain culture. It got so big, maybe he got burnt out or whatever. And he came up with this idea, or had this part of his idea was an employee, which you're now currently an employee owned company, an ESOP, right? So when did this happen in terms of the growth? Why? And I guess we should probably first start off by telling everybody what an ESOP is. So I'll let you go because you're the expert on this.
Okay. Yeah. Somewhere in between 2015 and it actually took hold in 2019. Yeah, he decided he wanted to turn the company over to employees at some point. When he first got back into the trades in the early 90s, he worked for a company that was big in the area. And, he said right away, man, I'd love to buy in. How can I do this? And the owner laughed in his face and you never will. And I think that's a lot of companies around there. Maybe they have a son, maybe there's some reason why an employee just can't move up the ranks. So yes,
Right.
He had this vision. So now we're pushing, at this point in 15, we're at 50 plus employees. We're hovering around that. That was a hover. Affordable Care Act line. Do we want to be over? Do we want to be under? It's a lot more paperwork. And he decided, I'm going to carry this over. And so he turned us into an ESOP, employee stock ownership plan. So basically what that means is he sold his company to a trust. And there's multiple ones across the country that you can get hooked up with that just manage ESOPs. That's all they do. And so the trust bought him, and then the trust then distributes shares every year over 30 years. So we as the employees, based on our compensation level, receive shares once a year.
Gotcha.
And so since 2019, those of us that have been here the whole time, we receive shares. Much like any other retirement plan, you have to get vested. You get vested a certain amount every year, and every company can make their own rules, how they want to vest their employees and things like that. But ours is after 7 years, you're 100% vested, similar to many 401ks or things like that. So the difference between us and so many other companies is the recruiting pitch we use a lot of times is, you work your butt off. We're not putting gas into the owner's boat or helping him get a bigger house on the golf course. This is going right back into our pockets. All the profits come right back into shares at the end of the year to us. So
Right.
that is huge. When we first launched it, there's some guys who get it right away, and just like the light bulb, you just ding.
Right.
And there's others that we've had to continually train because it's not the traditional like 401k or something that they're used to looking at. And it's not like the stock market that goes up and down. It's just every year it just kind of goes up as long as we keep performing.
I mean, even if you don't perform, it's not like you're losing everything. Your overall value just doesn't continue to grow. It plateaus,
Yeah.
or might decline a little bit, right? So let's do, since you're firsthand in this, let's just do a very lay example for everybody. Let's do one for like a tech, mid-level tech, and then one for maybe director level, someone more the senior manager level. So I'll let you go, because just make up some fictitious numbers for a tech. Start, mid-level tech. This gets entered into this program. What does that look like for them?
Yeah. So, okay, if we go, like you said, a mid-level tech came on board. So each year it's kind of a crazy formula. I don't know if you want the formula, but yeah, your percentage.
Like, what's their base salary? What's, year 1 to year 7? What are they getting at the end of the year in terms of shares or stock, if you will?
Let's say this base tech is making $30,000, we'll just say. And as a company as a whole, we paid out in salaries $300,000. So your total pool, that technician made 10% of the total salaries that were paid out during the year. So when the shares are distributed, that tech will then get 10% of the shares distributed during that year. And so, yes, the more incentive, the more you make, the more shares you get. So this technician who's in the $30,000 range every year working, who's been there since 2019, again, remember, they put $0 of their own money in. This is all money that's been dropped into the ESOP by the company, by the profits. That person's probably sitting on $28,000, $30,000 just of money that they haven't seen. Somebody at an executive level who's doing about double that, it's not double, it's actually probably closer to triple that, is sitting on $80,000 to $90,000 just because they were making more early and they got a whole lot more shares when they were very low priced.
So everybody understands, let's just fast forward this mid-level tech, 2 scenarios. They want to leave across town to the other company. What happens?
Like any other retirement plan, ESOP is first and foremost a retirement plan. So yes, you get cashed out, and you don't have an option of that. You get cashed out when you leave. And so those shares, actually, those stay in the company. So once the share is out, it's already been distributed, it stays out. So the employees who are still employed, they get that employee's shares. So that's pretty cool. Kind of outlasting somebody, you get to keep all their shares. So your value also goes up that way.
But that employee that leaves, let's just say it's after 10 years, so he's fully vested. He has to sell his shares back, but he gets paid market value, I would assume.
Current market value, yep.
For his shares, and they get redistributed to everybody.
Correct. And that's again where every ESOP kind of sets up its own rules. But most of them say you have to pay them out within 5 years. But if you wanted to delay it, say, hey, we want to pay 20% every year for the next 5 years. Every year when the value is recalculated, you have to pay them at that amount.
And then the other scenario, which is really the same thing, is if someone is fully vested and they decide to retire, basically the same thing happens.
Correct. Yep. They get paid out, and ESOP gets to choose how they pay them out. But it's great to say if somebody starts in their early 20s or even their late teens, somebody their first job out of high school, you get to tell somebody you're going to be a millionaire when you retire and you didn't put $1 away. And so we do still tell them, do things on your own. Have a Roth IRA or something else that you're investing in. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's just good financial literacy. But the company is going to take care of you. That, we're going to have plumbers and HVAC technicians walking out the door as millionaires. That makes you smile.
I'm sure once they get there, they'll be smiling as well.
Exactly. And not having to wrench till they're in their 70s. I mean, if we can get them out a little earlier to enjoy the quality of life, that's a big bonus.
Have you had people retire since this started yet or no?
Not, we had one retire about 2 years in. So he was not, he was about 20% or 40% vested. So we got 3 that are getting close, and all 3 of them are fully vested. So we'll see how that looks on paper, real numbers here sometime in the next 2 years, I'm going to imagine.
Do you guys have just on that note, do you have a required retirement time, or no, it doesn't matter because the investment is, you retire after 7 years if you're fully invested. I mean, if you want, right?
Well, there are some rules. You have to be 55 to actually claim it as retirement. Otherwise, it falls under all the same IRS rules. So,
okay, gotcha.
Or 59 and a half, sorry, not 55.
Okay.
Whatever the IRS says. Person who leaves, if they want to roll it over, they could roll it into another retirement vehicle and not have to pay
any
taxes on it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. The IRS is good about rolling things into other vehicles to reduce taxable liabilities. So,
I mean, they eventually get it. Let's not give them too much credit.
They're smart about it. They're assuming that as you defer those amounts at a later date, they will be bigger.
Yes.
It's the same assumption as the ESOP, most likely be bigger. So when you guys did this in 2019, and now we're at about 5 years, your brother is no longer active at all in the company, or is he totally out, or does he have a day-to-day job or day-to-day role in the company?
No, he is totally out now. But that's just in the last year. He stayed on as president for a while, and then he kind of named a successor, and went kind of just an estimate and just kind of a knower of things role. He also selflessly just kind of said, you know what, for people to move up, I really just got to walk away. If I make a void, people are going to fill that in, and there's going to be some promotions, boom, boom, boom. And so he walked away, and I'm sure he's struggling a little bit on finding, when you're a blue collar worker his whole life, and now he's just, he's got to be happy just golfing. I mean, I'd be happy with that, but
well, maybe not right now in Iowa, but hopefully somewhere.
Well, true. That's 55 today at the end of February, so I hope he's out.
Yeah, seriously. Same thing happened last year. Crazy February warm streak. So anyway, where I was going with that was, once this transition happened, and again, now we're 5 years in, have you noticed, has there been a material shift in culture, growth, just philosophies of culture around the company, et cetera?
100%. Yes. Guys being all in now. It's amazing how many times you see them cleaning up their job sites a little better. And, that every little part, PEX rings and zip screws, those all matter now because it's their money. They actually want to know, like, how did we do on this job? What percentage did we come back at on this project or this installs, things like that? They take notice of it now, which is what you want them to do. I'd say the only struggle is at the very beginning when you tell everybody they're an employee owner. They all think now, we have 70 bosses. It's like, no, just because I own Coke stock doesn't mean they're asking me what the design of the new bottle is going to be. So you have to remind them they're just getting the benefits of the profits. We still have a president. We still have a vision team and a management team that makes all the decisions. That's one of the only things at the beginning of anybody who's thinking about doing an ESOP. Make sure you don't let your employees' expectations get too high that, well, just, yes, you own something now, but you still don't get to call the shots.
You have to show up for work. You have to do your job, and you still most likely have a boss unless you're at the top. But everybody reports to somebody. So, well, what about, and I guess more specifically in terms of goal setting, annual planning, et cetera, can you look at, let's say 20, well, now we're into COVID time, so it's probably a little jaded, but let's just look at it anyway, is that, each year, if we're looking for, the last 5-year period versus former 5-year period, has goal setting changed? Are the goals higher? Are revenue goals higher or lower? Or, I mean, what does that sort of look like in terms of planning and growth?
Yeah, all goals have gone up. And yeah, so what we want to do in gross product or gross revenue, and then with our recruiting, how many people we want to bring on board and how we want to bring them on board. Because it is a big thing. You're bringing people in to be a part owner. So we're a lot more stringent, and we're very on who we bring in. Our interview process now, we want to be a brother or sister with them in ownership and give them shares. It's great that we're getting a lot of referrals from our techs. Like, well, I know a guy, he'd be great for this. You have that added layer of, I brought this guy on, I'm going to make sure he succeeds. That just, again, makes your company so much stronger.
On the other side of that, there's probably a lot of like self-weeding where I don't want this guy, doesn't show up for work, or, doesn't do a good job, isn't a hard worker. Like, I don't want to refer him.
You're 100% right. Yes, they will call each other out more often now since we've become an ESOP than before. Whereas before they're like, I don't want to get a guy fired, or it's not really my place. If somebody else didn't notice it, I guess I'll wait till management notices. Now they do come to us and say, hey, I'm not sure about this guy. Or, I've been noticing this about so-and-so. And so that you're dead on right there, that yes, the guys take more of an ownership in trying to weed them out as much as they do promoting them.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all. Most people probably don't know this, but Waterloo is, and where you are, it's not a huge market. So you've got, just correct me if I'm wrong, you've got Waterloo, which is the big town, Cedar Falls, and then what, Evans? I mean, is there anything else? There's Evansdale, but that's, a drop in the bucket. Is that mostly your market?
Yeah, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Waverly gets a little bit, home of Wartburg College. But no, those are the main towns in about an hour radius. Cedar Rapids is about an hour away. They kind of do their thing. But no, we're about 100 to 125,000. If you include Waverly, about 125,000 population between this metro area.
Right. That's where I was going with that, is the actual serviceable, addressable market for you all is 100 to 125,000 people, which, backing up, you said you're at 70 people now?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big number for that actual market size. So that's amazing as far as I can see.
Yeah, I'd agree with, yeah.
You'd agree with that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
As you should. You've been doing director of business development for 9 years. You've started the Blackhawk School. Now you're into another project, right? Like you're doing a consulting job called under the guise of Apprenticeship Works. You help companies create processes needed to recruit, train, and retain more apprentices. That's the gist.
That's 100% gist. You stole my elevator speech right there. Yeah.
Didn't mean to do that. You told me a lot about it. So talk to us about that, what that looks like, and more importantly, why you're doing this. Why, clearly you guys have a passion for training people properly, giving them proper structure, curriculum, Blackhawk School. Now this, why another foray into, helping other companies with their, their apprenticeship?
Yeah. It really came from, as you're talking about, we're getting to 70 people, and we had upward of 16 apprentices at the time last fall, between all 4 levels. And our president, she came to me and was like, hey, you got to kind of put the brakes on. And this is when it really kind of stepped up. I want to go talk to other people, because getting people into the trades has become a passion, almost a calling for me. And so to pump the brakes, I just wasn't able to do it. Like when you said, hey, you get to take summers off. Now that's when I'm out hitting everywhere that I can. I'm still trying to promote. And so that's where I came up with this, not in my own area. Obviously, contractors in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, I'm not going to go help them build their business. They can watch my podcasts, and if they pick up enough pointers, then
full disclosure, I'm not going to go across town and help my competitors. Just
right. Yeah. So, and my boss, my president is watching. Hey, I'm not taking that one.
That's awesome. I'm glad we have that out there. Can we make that a short and blast that over social, please?
Yes. So because of the technology here that people can connect all across the country, it's just something that we did perfect so well. It is the process. It's building your culture up to be a training culture. So many companies have that group of guys that, kind of growl and we don't even learn their names until they've made it 6 months. You got to get rid of that. You just have to embrace that you're going to have kind of
Like
a turnover.
fraternity hazing.
Yes, it is.
Go out and run around the shop naked for 20 minutes in the negative 20-degree weather.
We might have to add that one if we get some negative 20 degrees, but so many companies you talk to, they have too much of that mentality and they don't have that vision of how to grow. So just like the ESOP is a succession planning tool, making sure you have a strong apprenticeship and you're building from within. The other problem you get is if you just hire other people's talent, you're paying too much for them because they were getting paid well at the company they were at, probably. I mean, that's not what they're going to tell you in the interview, but they probably were being compensated well and you're paying them more. Whereas if you build your people up from within, they all have the same set of values. They all went through the same process. Said, like our school, since we've done that, we have certain projects that we do at every level. And now, 15 to now, that's 9 years, right? Yeah. Wow. 9 years the school's been going. So they get to talk amongst each other from different classes, like, well, what'd you do for this project? And it's just this little conversation started that they have and this common bond that they have. Everybody knows once they've gone through the schooling that they apprenticed under people they didn't like. And so you get to say, now that you're a journey person or you're a master, you get to be the right kind of leader. Don't be the jerk. So that's where this came from, is I just want to go out and help other companies because too many companies are small-minded. Think, oh boy, I hope I get 1 or 2 apprentices a year. Whereas my goal going into this year was I'm going to hire 21 people with the hopes that come August, September, when school starts, I still have about 12 on hand. I just know that those are good numbers with a process that's in place. You get a lot of people who aren't really ready to work 45, 50 hours a week of manual labor. They think they do, but you get them out there in the summer, digging. You got some good construction sites and they just aren't ready for all that physical labor. You get other people that just aren't good fits and you have to hire quick, fire quicker once you decide that's not a good fit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. When you talked about goals earlier, the goal this year is to hire 21 bodies for the apprenticeship role. Now they don't make it into school until the fall.
At Bergen. So in the fall, you'll hopefully have 12 new FTEs.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Or apprentice level 1. Yep.
Right. But I mean, they're full-time employees, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And we have a big thing. You have to work at least 60 days prior to getting into school, for vesting. So we actually have to have all these people hired by July 1st so that we can see them work to know what they're willing to invest in. So they have to be hired by July 1st to get into school in September. That kind of came on in our second year. We took the community college or college mentality of let's just hire everybody and they can start the first day of class and start working at the same time. That didn't work for us.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, it doesn't
work for colleges either.
No, it's a marriage, right? Like both parties have to come together and be willing to work together and, work towards something and agree on things. And I mean, a contract in a way, right? So.
Oh, yes. Yep. And, and then we make them outlay the money for the first class. Again, we learned that the hard way when they don't have any, stake or money in it, then they just didn't take it as serious.
There's a lot of wisdom in that one. That's for sure. Have something in it. So have some skin in the game. It doesn't
skin in the game. That's
I mean, this isn't all just for nothing. Yeah. I mean, you gotta put a little skin in the game. So yeah, that makes sense.
And then we do reimburse them if they get a B or better. So they put in the work in the classroom, they get reimbursed. So past level 1, they get reimbursed. Most of them just turn that tuition into level 2, so on through level 4. But now they passed to level 4, so they're going to get their tuition back from all the way from level 1. They're going to pass their journey person exam, which means they're going to get a raise, probably get a van at this point or a newer van. So that's a really good month for them.
A couple other questions here. At this stage with your passion is educating and helping move people along and help them enable themselves to train and educate themselves so they can have a lustrous career. Is there anything you'd go back and tell yourself in 2015, or, we'll call them at the events, 2015 when you started Blackhawk, or 2019 when the ESOP started? Is there anything that you'd say, hey, Loren, do this differently, or, do this better, or whatever?
I document things a little bit better from the beginning, especially in both of those two examples. A lot of things you teach and it worked well, and you just kind of, was that a fluke? Instead of saying, oh no, that was a great lesson, I should just teach that every time the exact same way, instead of trying to remember it next fall. And have a little bit tighter lesson plans. And same on the ESOP, when people came with concerns early on, just address them right away. Get more education. We blast right now a lot about the schooling. So every person who interviews gets told, hey, if you're employed here, this is your next 3 years. We lay it out for them. Be in class, then you're going to work summers and make a ton of money. Then you're going to be in class, get your journey person. I mean, we just lay it out. We're very open about it. And so with the ESOP, we could have been even more open about all the different ways that it worked at the beginning, just so there's less confusion. Like I said about no, we don't have 50 plus owners or bosses right now. We have still, everything's working the same. You're just making some free money. So yeah, documenting things and just addressing it early on.
Anecdotally, a little funny thing, you could give them all a share of Coke, like you said in your example, and you could say, okay, you have a share of Coke, now see if you can go change the design of the Coke bottle.
Right.
Basically, that's how this works. It's the exact same.
That's the exact same thing.
If you accrue over 50% of the shares, then you can actually change the design of the Coke bottle.
Exactly. Yep. So you keep working and outlast all of us that are already currently here and ahead of you, and you can make those decisions someday.
Yeah. The Bergen green.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So last question, a similar question, but now you're talking to other HVAC contractors, plumbing contractors out there who are looking to start an ESOP, or that they want to do this as well. What advice would you give them, or could you share with them in terms of, again, what you all went through? And maybe it's the same answer as you just gave. Yeah, that's the question.
I guess make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And by that, I mean, you will make money at selling it to an ESOP because you get fair market value. So now people will argue you probably could get a little bit more on the open market, but you're not sure who's going to come in and who's going to run your company. If you want to get the top dollar, we're seeing it across the country. So many of these conglomerates are just coming up and buying the large shops. And really, once you get to a certain size, you're 50 plus employees, there's not a lot of people who can buy you. So giving it back to the employees, it's one of those beautiful things. After we became an ESOP and we actually showed our whole org chart and everything, when we bring people in, they're like, you start here, but any one of you can be up here to the president now. It doesn't matter what your last name is. It doesn't matter who you knew or how somebody was feeling the day you were up for a promotion. Everything is on the level now. So any business owner out there, again, who has a company of the size that if you're 10 plus employees, you can think about it. I mean, below that, do you have the guys who are going to be around and have the assets to get it? Or do you have enough equity basically to make it happen? But if you're in that, I'd probably say closer to 20 to 50 to above range, and you're not quite sure how to succession plan out, an ESOP is an amazing way. Plus, you're ensuring that all the people that you took all this time to build up and to foster, and they became your family, they get to keep doing business the way they're used to doing it. That's the best part, is that we found out one day, I mean, I knew earlier in the process, but the day he made the announcement to everybody, I mean, we had been running for almost a full year under ESOP rules, and the guys didn't know. The only thing that changed was they knew one day. And
really? That's interesting.
I mean, just by the time you get all the I's dotted and T's crossed, it was about 9-10 months. And it's like, okay, but you have to pick a start date. I mean, they'll walk you through these places, these trusts that work with it. They are very good at walking through the whole process.
I lied. We're going to circle back and cover a couple more things and do this all the time. One, I would say the friction for the owner, in this case, your brother, and the time of the deal, you don't know the answer to this, but it sounds like it might be a little bit more involved than if you're selling to a conglomerate or a private equity or a holding company, which is the conglomerate, but something like that. Yeah,
100%. This is a 2 to 3 year process,
right.
really, to get
Okay.
everything all laid out. Yes, I mean, a conglomerate deal you can get done in 30 days. I mean, they give you a number,
Yeah.
you like it, boom,
Right. Right.
cash me
Right.
out,
Yeah,
cash me
yeah.
outside.
So to your earlier point, like that's part of you have to really want to do this because it's going to be super time consuming. It's going to take a lot of time. And then the trust, the operators, again, there's a ton of work here, right? How does their fee structure, what does that look like? Is that flat? Is it part of the valuation? Again, like a broker, right? A broker's getting paid on a valuation height. Everyone's incented to lift the valuation because brokers are getting paid a percentage of that valuation in the sale. What are the economics there?
That has to be worked out, whether you can either roll it into the sale price or it can be on the owner. So that one, there's flexibility of who picks it up, but all that price is up front, and those are fees, like I said, can either be rolled into the agreed upon sale price, or the owner can pick them up as a cost of doing business under his current.
Gotcha. Is it based off of sale price or is it more a
No, it's
flat
more of a
fee?
flat. It's more of a flat fee.
Flat
Yep.
fee based. Okay. I mean, just talking economics, there's going to be massive savings there from an owner's perspective. If you're whatever the number is, 50-person company, $20 million in revenue, you're going to pay a big premium to the brokers of the deal versus if you go into an ESOP, sure, it's going to be fractions on the dollar, comparatively
Right.
speaking. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for talking about this and sharing all this information. Where anyone's looking to get connected with you, helping them with their apprenticeship program, where can they find you? Where are you most active, social media wise, etc.?
LinkedIn work, but Instagram has been, after going to the HR Expo and hanging out in the podcast pavilion. Yeah, boy, it seems like a lot of people are hanging out on Instagram. So you can DM me on there, but I'm on every social media. Got a YouTube channel, but LinkedIn or Instagram, as you can see, I love to talk about it. People get a lot of free advice out of me just because I ramble. So,
You do like to get paid for your work, but
but yes,
free advice works as well.
my wife appreciates when I do jobs that actually pay.
Everybody does. Those links will be in the show notes. Again, thank you for being here and thanks everyone for listening. Best of luck and go out and get them.